Hi, I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning into the Vintage Vehicle Show. We're in Garden Grove, California at the Main Street Car Show. This is another great Southern California car show. A lot of people just coming out and showing off their cars. Well, you're going to do what you do every week. You're going to kick back, relax, and enjoy meeting some great people, seeing some great cars, and hearing some great music. Eldon Schmidt, I have seen this at other car shows, a 1948 Chevrolet
Canopy Express.
Canopy Express. You have the back full of vegetables, or what looks like fruits and vegetables. Very utilitarian vehicle. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a 1948 Canopy Express. It's specifically made to sell fruits and vegetables from the back. And it's completely stock, the original engine in it. And I did most of the work myself and my son. And it took 3 years to do it.
Is this a vehicle that General Motors, Chevrolet built and made available, or did they send them out to Hess or somebody like that and have them turn them into an Express?
No, Chevy built them all. There was 846 1948s built.
I can probably count every one I've ever seen on one hand and maybe not use a couple of the fingers. A pretty rare vehicle.
That's pretty close. That's pretty close. I know where there's 3. And somebody told me there was 10 registered in the United States. So
back in 1948 or 49, 50, whatever, when these were being used by the local grocery store owner, was it parked out? I mean, how did they use these? Did they take them to like farmers markets back then, or did they park them in front of grocery stores, or how did the product get to the consumer via this?
Well, I think they drove through the neighborhood and honked their horns and parked out front and sold right out of the back. They have scales in the back. We have a scale in the back. So I think they just sold them drove up and down the street selling them from the back.
Have you ever run across anybody that made their living driving one of these or working out of one?
No, never have.
So it just keeps getting rarer and rarer.
Rarer and rarer, yes, that's for sure.
Was it the structural integrity of the vehicle jeopardized by taking out the sides, or is it still pretty tough?
No, it's a good, tough car, because what the sides were normally were windows from when they made a Suburban or a panel trucks. So it's a nice little truck. It's solid.
You have the back full of your display. If all that was out of there, does it look like the bed of a pickup truck under that?
Sure, it's wood. It's a solid oak wood with strips down through the middle. The interior is all stock. It's got bucket seats.
One of the things I've noticed here at the Main Street Car Show is there seems to be a nice percentage of kind of unusual cars that you don't see at your normal car show, which this certainly would fall into.
Definitely, definitely. This is a nice show. Been coming here for 8 years, and you see something different every week. So it's a nice show.
Well, Eldon, you have made the week for me. Thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love Hudsons. I love any orphan car, but I really like Hudsons. A 1953 Hudson Hornet, absolutely beautiful. Gary Severance, this is a nice car.
Thank you, sir. I really enjoy it. It's a 20H power with dual carbs and 308 cubic inches straight six engine. Been a lot of fun. It was restored about 10 years ago.
It looks like the restoration was completed day before yesterday. It's just gorgeous.
Well, it's had some good caretakers. The fellow who restored it, I bought it from, he was in Florida, South Florida, and he had a restoration shop, and he did this car for himself.
The collection that's here tonight, a lot of kind of what people consider standard cars for a car show gathering, a lot of 50s era Chevrolets, Fords, a 53 Hudson. You're the only one on the street. What's that feel like?
Well, I like it, you know, it'd be a little different. I've always been not normal, so having a little different obsolete marquee car, why, it suits me.
My fun car is a 66 Mustang, which means I can go to the corner grocery store and buy any parts I need for it. I would think a 53 Hudson would be just a bit of a challenge to get the molding around the windows or odds and ends. Has that been the case?
That's very true, and that's one reason why I don't restore Hudsons. I buy a car that's pretty much done, has been done, and then try to keep improving it as I go along the way. So, yes, when you get into those marquees, why, you do struggle to find parts, and sometimes you have to make them from scratch. And,
the performance on these, they did really well in early NASCAR, early stock car racing. That's a lot of cubic inches out of a six-cylinder motor.
That's true, and the Coupe sedan that we have here was a favorite of the NASCAR, the stock car racing guys, and so there's really only 60 of these left. They used up so many of them in the stock car races. They were faster, obviously. They were a little lighter body than the four doors.
Well, Gary, if I come back here in a year from now, you can have numbers painted on the side and screens over the headlight and tell me that you've been racing this since I saw you last?
No, that's not my style. I do know guys that do that to their Hudsons, but not me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate the car, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Steve Johnson, I'm walking along, and I see a red Jensen Healey, something you don't see very often. How did you come into the ownership of this?
I purchased a car in 1987 out of a newspaper ad. It was in Tustin, California, and had it ever since.
You're in the middle of a car show that's mostly hot rods and custom, so this is a little bit unusual. How's it going over with the crowd?
There's been quite a few lookers and asking a lot of questions. They're not familiar with it.
A lot of people aren't familiar with it. I've been able to read up on them a little bit and have seen a few over the years, but they certainly are not all over the place. What is the story of the Jensen Healey company?
Well, the Jensen Healey was manufactured from 1972 through 1976.
This is a 74, correct?
This is a 74. It's powered by a Lotus engine, 907, originally a 2-liter engine with Stromberg carburetors here in the United States. And they made approximately 10,000 of them in total during that time span. This model here, the Mark II 74, they manufactured a little over 6,000, of which about 60% were sent to the United States. I've heard there's about a little over 500 of them in existence worldwide today.
What happened to the company? Why aren't we seeing these all over the place?
Well, they went out of business in 76, hard times. Probably had something to do with the smog in the States here. And it wasn't a quite expensive little car back then. And the competition was there. They just couldn't hold their own.
Lotus engines don't have the best reliability reputation. How's yours been operating?
Mine's been real good. I rebuilt it 4 years ago. I did a little extra work. I put a stroker crank in it, 104 spec cams, stainless steel valves, 45 millimeter Delorto carburetors, and it's been real reliable. They were known to leak oil. This one's a dry engine.
Did Jensen Healy, did they pop the hoods? Did they make the fenders? Did they do the interior? Or is this a montage or a collage of some other company's parts?
No, they done all of their own body work. They also did body work for other companies.
Such as?
Sunbeam, Alpines, Volvo P1800s.
So those great big companies came to this little bitty company and had them do some of their tough stuff for them.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Steve, it wasn't tough looking at this. This is a beautiful car, so thank you for taking the time to be on the Vintage Vehicle Show, and you can be proud of this one.
Thank you.
It's an old story. You've heard it over and over on the show. I walk through shows. I see a car that jumps out at me. Well, this is the one. 1932 Ford Ray Thornton. This is an absolutely beautiful coupe you have here.
Thank you very much.
How did this come to be?
Well, I just decided I wanted to build a car like this, and I had in my mind just exactly what I wanted, the color and everything I picked out before I ever built it.
What is the color?
It's yellow and silver.
That's too easy. It has to have some it's lime fire, California.
Something different, so this is what I did. When I was a kid, I used to have cars like this all the time, so I decided, well, I got to build a hot rod. I have a Roadster that I built 7 years ago, and so I wanted to get a hot rod this time. So this is what in my mind, I had it just built like I wanted it, and it turned out just like I wanted it.
The exposed suspension, the Buick portholes, you've got some unique things done on this that look really nice.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, the Buick things, it just so happens the guy that painted the car had those for his own car, and I talked about it because it lets a little more heat out of the engine there. So,
what's the power plant, the running gear on it?
It's a 350 Chevy with all souped up.
And transmission, rear end?
Yeah, except the 700R transmission, overdrive and all that, and Curry rear end, 9 or 10-inch Ford rear end. So,
what did you start with on this? Did you have it's a fiberglass body, correct?
Right, yeah. Well, they have steel bodies you can buy now, but when I started this, you couldn't buy them unless you wanted to wait 2 or 3 years. But at my age, I wanted something now that I could play with and get it done.
I understand you have a 90th birthday coming up.
In August, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so anyway, that's the reason I went to the fiberglass body. And this body was made in Australia, so it's a little stronger than a lot of them.
The show here, the Main Street Car Show on the main street of Garden Grove, this, to the viewers, they're probably looking at this and thinking, this is a car show that happens once a year, this is a big deal, but this happens every Friday night, right?
Unless it rains, yes, every Friday night. So, and I get over here occasionally, not all the time, but I have another car, I bring a red Roadster once in a while, but this car here, I just tonight decided to bring it.
If you had to describe one thing about this car that's really unique that you haven't seen in other customized or altered 32 Fords, what would it be?
Well, the color mainly. This is now in the sun it turns yellow. It's kind of a greenish color now, but it's got a lot of pearl in it. Makes the yellow jump out. So, and I just thought, well, I've seen yellow in two-tone cars, but I like this silvered yellow. So before I ever started the car, I knew that's what I wanted.
Yeah, but it's not a painfully loud yellow, but with the gray on it. It's a real classy combination.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that's actually silver. Silver and yellow. So,
all right. Well, I love your silver and yellow car, Ray. Thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show, and enjoy that next birthday. Dick Steinke, I have always been very partial to Crown Victorias. Your 55 Ford Crown Victoria is as good as anyone I've ever seen. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about it. Did you start with a rusting Hulk, or did it look like this when you got it? What's the story?
I bought it 10 years ago, and it looked pretty much like this. But I redone everything from paint, stainless steel, to chrome is like it was 10 years ago. I rewired the whole car myself and had the whole inside reupholstered, a new carpet, and all I know, I put new steel belt radio tires on it. I've done a lot of work to it, you can see, and it's got the original 272 motor with 3 deuces on it. It's all been bored out to from a 272 to a 312. And I drive this every weekend, about 100, 125 miles, try to every Sunday as much as possible. I put on about 35,000 miles on this car in the last 9 years. And I love this car. There's no squeaks or rattles in it. And the color just gets to me, and I just love it.
It's beautiful. The whole Crown Victoria thing, the basket handle over the top, I always thought Ford pulled off a pretty good trick when they basically sold a sedan for more money than what they were getting for hard tops.
Yeah, back in the 50s, when I was in high school, this Crown was too expensive for me. I bought new cars when I was in high school. I had a good job and everything, but the Crown was too expensive. I couldn't afford a Crown. But when I looked for a car 10 years ago, I've seen a 56 Crown, and I fell in love with the Crowns. I forgot it. In fact, I forgot about it because there wasn't very many Crowns out there. And when I seen this car, I just fell in love with it, and I bought it on the spot. So,
Crown Victorias frequently are seen with Continental kits, yours included. Why do you think those two so often went hand in hand?
I don't know, but I've had 3-4 cars with Continental kits. This Continental kit is factory right original, and I think a Crown Victoria, the Continental kit makes this car. I think if you did not have a Continental kit on this car, it wouldn't look right.
Look too short?
Yes, it would, yes.
I know the Crown Victoria Association is pretty active in the country. How many of these do you think are still out there surviving?
I don't really believe there's too many of them. There's a Crown Victoria club back east someplace, but I can go to 10, 15, 20 shows and you'll never see a Crown Vic. I'm usually the only Crown Victoria around this whole area. And the ones that are out there isn't, I'm not bragging or nothing, but it's not as nice as this.
I'm going to run the risk of having some viewers probably next time they see me punch me out a little bit, but I think 55, 56, and 57 Fords are every bit and maybe even a little better looking than 5, 6, 7 Chevs, but there seems to be so much more interest in the Tri-5s than there is in the Tri-Fords.
Right. All I can say is there's too many 55, 56, 57 Chevys. You can buy them in every block, but you won't find this every block.
I am going to get nasty emails. In fact, I'm going to give them your email address.
You give my email. That's right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. This is a beautiful car, and you've done a great job on it.
Thank you very much.
have had a great time here in Garden Grove, California at the Main Street Car Show. Happens here every Friday night. If you happen to be in the area, stop by. Wonderful show, great people, great cars. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.